rose sits in the center of my parents' polished oak dining table like a prize, perfectly browned and surrounded by rosemary sprigs. Dad's carving knife glints under the chandelier as he slices with practiced precision, the same methodical movements I've watched since childhood. Mom's crystal glasses catch the light, arranged at perfect intervals around her prized Wedgwood china. "Miranda, would you like dark or white meat?" Dad asks, his voice carrying that Sunday dinner formality. "Dark, please." I reach for my water glass, watching as Arya angles her phone beneath the table, capturing her immaculate plate with barely a bite taken from the roasted potatoes. "That filter makes the food look incredible," Arya murmurs, mostly to herself, thumbs moving rapidly across her screen. Mom beams at her. "Make sure to tag that little restaurant where we got the special seasoning blend." I take a bite of meat, perfectly tender. The familiar Sunday ritual unfolds, Mom discussing her garden club politics, Dad offering measured commentary on the neighborhood association's latest dispute. I contribute when asked about my environmental projects, but the conversation inevitably gravitates toward Arya's growing social media presence. 20,000 new followers this month, she announces, not looking up from her screen. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Mom says, squeezing Arya's hand. Dad clears his throat then, setting down his knife with deliberate care. The sound shifts something in the room's atmosphere. Mom straightens, exchanging a quick glance with him. "We have an announcement to make," Dad says, folding his hands on the table's edge. The roast suddenly tastes like sawdust in my mouth. Their announcements have rarely brought good news my way. "We've officially transferred the lake house into Arya's name," Dad says, his voice carrying the same tone he uses for quarterly business presentations. "From now on, it's hers." My fork freezes midway to my mouth. The dining room continues to exist around me, the gleaming silverware, the hum of the air conditioning, the tick of the grandfather clock in the hall, but sound recedes as if I've been dunked underwater. Mom's face glows as she reaches for Arya's hand again. "We're so excited for you, sweetheart." Arya immediately grabs her phone, angling it for a selfie with our parents. "This is going to be perfect for my summer content series." I set my fork down with careful precision, afraid that any sudden movement might shatter something: the crystal, the china, my composure, the lake house, my lake house. The place where I learned to fish at 5, Dad's hands guiding mine as I held the rod at dawn, mist rising off the water. The dock I helped rebuild when I was 14, spending the entire summer measuring boards while Dad taught me to use the circular saw. The place where I swam every morning before anyone else woke, claiming those quiet moments as mine alone. "Miranda? Miranda?" Mom's voice cuts through my thoughts. "Did you hear what your father said?" I look up, finding 3 sets of eyes on me. I heard. "You already have your condo, dear," Mom says, her tone sliding into the practiced reasonableness I know too well. The lake house fits Arya's lifestyle better. Her followers love those lakeside sunrise posts. "Your sister can really use the place," Dad adds practically, refilling his wine glass. "Your environmental work keeps you in the city anyway." Arya offers what I suppose passes for a sympathetic look, though it doesn't reach her eyes. "I'll take good care of it, sis." I set my napkin beside my plate, smoothing it flat. "I spent every summer there since I was 5, I say, my voice quieter than intended. "I'm the one who helped Dad rebuild the dock." Mom waves her hand dismissively. "That was ages ago, honey. Arya's been the one making use of it these past few years." Speaking of making use, Arya interjects, "I just got the most amazing sponsorship deal with that outdoor furniture company. They want me to showcase their new line at the lake house next month." And just like that, we've moved on. The lake house, my childhood, my memories dismissed as casually as last season's fashion trend. "I need to use the bathroom," I murmur, pushing back from the table. In the hallway bathroom, I lock the door and grip the marble sink, staring at my reflection. The woman looking back has my gray-blue eyes, my father's straight nose, my mother's high cheekbones, but her expression is foreign, stunned, hollow. I splash cold water on my face, the shock of it grounding me. Water drips down my chin as memories flood through me. Dad teaching me to bait a hook with hands still small enough to need his help. Swimming out to the floating dock while stars still hung in the pre-dawn sky. The quiet hours spent fishing beside my father before Arya even woke up. When I return to the dining room, they've moved on completely. Arya has her phone propped against the crystal water pitcher, filming a celebratory toast to new beginnings at the Evans Lake House. Mom raises her champagne glass. When did champagne appear? To Arya. Dad adds, his glass catching the light. Miranda, come join us. Mom motions, her voice carrying that edge that means compliance is expected. Just for a quick family shot. I step into frame, muscles stiff as I force my lips into what might pass for a smile. The champagne tastes like vinegar when I sip it. Later, driving home alone through Minneapolis streets gone quiet with Sunday evening stillness, I grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white. The weight of invisibility crushes down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. 30 years of existence, 15 summers of memories, countless dawns spent on that dock, all erased with a single announcement over Sunday roast. They've given away more than property. They've handed over the only piece of my childhood that still felt like mine. My phone pings at 11 that night. I'm curled on my condo sofa, wrapped in the faded quilt my grandmother made, still trying to process the dinner bombshell. The notification glows in the dim light. Aria Evans has tagged you in a story. A familiar dread pools in my stomach as I tap the screen. Her Instagram story splashes across my phone. A professionally filtered sunset over the lake. Aria perched delicately on the edge of the dock, legs dangling just above the water she never actually enters. The lake house, my childhood dream come true, reads the caption, followed by a string of heart emojis and hashtags. I scroll through the comments, dozens pouring in from her followers. Oh my God, so gorgeous, you totally deserve this. Your happy place, can't wait to see what you do with it. That dock view is everything, blessed. Not a single mention of my connection to the property. Not one acknowledgement that I existed in that space for 25 years before it became Aria's content backdrop. In the span of a few filtered photos, my childhood has been digitally erased. I toss my phone onto the cushion beside me and press my palms against my eyes until stars burst behind my eyelids. The quilt slips to the floor as I stand, moving with sudden purpose toward my hall closet. The storage boxes are stacked in the back corner, labeled in my neat handwriting. I drag out the one marked Lake House Childhood, coughing slightly at the dust that rises when I pull off the lid. Inside, dozens of photos spill out, not filtered or posed, but genuine moments captured over 15 years. 6-year-old me, gap-toothed and grinning, holding up a smallmouth bass nearly half my size. Dad and me on the dock, measuring boards for the renovation when I was 14. Me swimming out to the floating platform at dawn, hair slicked back, lake water dripping from my chin. I spread the photos across my living room floor, creating a timeline of memories. Aria seems determined to pretend never existed. The contrast is stark. Her carefully posed photos showing only pristine, untouched scenes, versus the lived-in reality of our family's actual history. At the bottom of the box, I find something unexpected. Dad's old fishing journal, its leather cover worn soft from years of handling. I'd forgotten he kept this, recording every fishing trip from when I was barely tall enough to see over the boat railing. I opened to a random page, dated the 17th of July, 1998. Miranda caught her first bass today. 4 pounds, 18 inches. Fought it for 10 minutes without help. Proudest moment of my life. She named it Frederick and insisted we release it. My fingers trace over his familiar handwriting, the pressure of his pen having left impressions deep enough to feel under my fingertips even 20 years later. I flip through more pages, each one detailing our mornings on the lake, fish caught, weather conditions, occasional sketches of unusual birds we spotted. Not once in all these entries does Aria's name appear. The realization hits me with physical force. My parents haven't simply given Aria the lake house. They've actively chosen to rewrite our family history. The evidence of my connection to that place isn't just being ignored, it's being deliberately erased. My phone rings at 7:15 the next morning. Mom's name flashes on the screen, and I briefly consider letting it go to voicemail. Against my better judgment, I answer. We need you to do something for us, she says without greeting, her voice carrying that particular tone that means refusal isn't an option she's considering. I say nothing, waiting. You're skilled with the environment and maintenance planning, she continues into my silence. Help Aria draw up a care plan for the lake house. She needs to understand the seasonal maintenance schedule. Put Dad on speaker, I say, my voice surprisingly steady. A rustling sound, then Dad's practical tone joins the conversation. You know the septic system better than anyone, Miranda. Just show her the ropes. The contractors I've used are getting older, and some have retired. You have all the contacts. Of course I do. I'm the one who coordinated every repair for the past decade while Arya was busy building her following. You don't regret this, do you? Mom adds, her voice sliding into that manipulative sweetness I know too well. You're the mature one, after all. Always so practical. Family supports family, Miranda. Always. Dad's voice carries an implicit threat I've heard since childhood. Either fall in line or accept the consequences of disappointing them. I end the call with a vague promise to think about it, then immediately text Jack. We haven't spoken regularly in years, but he's one of the few people who might understand. His family owned the property across the lake from ours since before I was born. We meet at Lakeside Coffee an hour later. Jack looks largely the same as he did in high school, a little more weathered around the eyes, his dark hair now sporting threads of silver at the temples. Wait, they gave the lake house to Arya? His coffee mug halts halfway to his mouth, but she hardly ever went there as a kid. I remember you out fishing every morning. Don't think I saw Arya there more than a handful of times, and even then she never left the house. The validation of my memories from someone outside the family lands like a life preserver thrown to a drowning person. I'm not crazy. I'm not misremembering. The childhood I recall actually happened. Your dad taught you to fish when you were what, 5? Jack continues, setting down his mug. I remember watching from our dock, jealous because my dad wouldn't take me out until I was 7. 6. I correct automatically. 5th birthday present was my first rod. Jack nods, something shifting in his expression. Come out to the lake this weekend. See the place one more time. I'll take you fishing like old times. Back at my condo, I draft and redraft a text to my parents 6 times before settling on brutal simplicity. I won't be creating a maintenance plan for Arya. She can hire someone. The response is immediate and predictable. A barrage of guilt-inducing messages from both parents. Mom's lengthy paragraph about family obligations. Dad's terse reminder that they've always supported both daughters equally. Then Arya's passive-aggressive follow-up. I thought you'd be happy for me, sis. Guess some people can never be satisfied. I turn off my phone and place it deliberately in my desk drawer. The small act feels monumental, choosing my truth over their manipulation for perhaps the first time in 30 years. Outside my window, the Minneapolis skyline glitters as evening falls. Something has shifted today, a fault line cracking open beneath decades of family dynamics. I don't know what comes next, but standing in the quiet of my condo, surrounded by evidence of the life I actually lived, I make a silent promise to myself. They may own the lake house, but they don't own my memories. On Sunday, the phrase "lake house transition planning meeting" sits in my mother's text message, like a bureaucratic tomb for my childhood. I read it again in my car, parked outside their house, gathering courage before walking up the familiar brick pathway. Each step feels like moving through molasses. When I push open the front door, voices spill from the dining room, too many voices. This isn't just my parents and Arya. My stomach clenches. They've brought in reinforcements. There she is. Mom waves me over with the practiced enthusiasm she reserves for reluctant guests. We were just getting started. The dining room has been transformed. Where Sunday's dinner featured just our immediate family, today the table hosts my Aunt Patricia and Uncle Richard. A young man with a professional camera circles the perimeter, adjusting lighting equipment positioned in the corners. A small spread of appetizers sits untouched in the center. Miranda. Aunt Patricia rises to embrace me, her perfume clouding around us. So good of you to come support your sister on her big day. I stiffen. What big day would that be exactly? The lake house, of course, Uncle Richard says, raising his wine glass. About time the place went to someone who truly appreciates it. My father clears his throat, shooting Richard a warning glance before gesturing to an empty chair. Have a seat, Miranda. We've just been discussing maintenance schedules. Before I can respond, the front door crashes open with theatrical timing. Arya sweeps in wearing a flowing white sundress, trailed by a woman clutching a professional light reflector. Her entrance halts all conversation. Sorry I'm late. She kisses the air near my mother's cheek. Brianna's just documenting the family handover moment for my followers. Potential sponsor watching the story. She turns to the woman with the reflector. Natural lighting, but make sure to catch the emotional connection when Miranda gives her blessing. My blessing? The words escape before I can stop them. Mom places a hand on my arm. Just a symbolic moment, dear. For Arya's content calendar. AI. I've already drafted the caption. Arya says, scrolling through her phone. Family legacy passes to the next generation as my sister honors our parents' wishes. How does that sound? Lovely, Mom beams, squeezing my arm tighter when I try to pull away. Dad produces a folder labeled Lake House Transfer and slides it across the table. We've prepared all the documentation. The deed transfer is already complete, but we thought a small ceremony would be nice. You're giving the lake house to Arya. It's done? My voice sounds distant even to my own ears. The paperwork was finalized on Friday this week, Dad confirms, not meeting my eyes. Aunt Patricia reaches across the table to pat Arya's hand. You must be thrilled to finally have your special place officially yours. It's always been her special place, Mom adds with certainty. Even as a little girl, Arya treasured that lake house like no one else. I stare at her, disbelief washing through me. That's not true. The table falls silent. Mom laughs nervously. Oh, Miranda, we all remember how Arya would cry when we had to leave at summer's end. I'm the one who helped Dad rebuild the dock, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. I'm the one who went fishing with him every morning. Uncle Richard chuckles. I think you might be confusing your childhood with Arya's, dear. We all remember how she loved that place. The room spins slightly as I look at their faces, all convinced of this alternate history where my sister, not I, formed the deep connection with the lake house. My childhood isn't just being transferred, it's being erased. Excuse me, I murmur, pushing back from the table. Bathroom. No one stops me as I slip from the dining room, but instead of turning toward the bathroom, I move silently down the hallway to my father's study. The door creaks as I push it open. The room smells of leather and the faint cigar smoke Dad thinks Mom doesn't know about. I know exactly what I'm looking for. Third shelf, behind his financial records. My hands find the worn leather album without hesitation, Fishing Chronicles, embossed on the spine in faded gold letters. When I return to the dining room, conversation stops mid-sentence. Their eyes track me as I approach the table. Without a word, I place the photo album in the center, displacing a tray of untouched canapés, and open it to the first page. A 5-year-old version of myself grins gap-toothed at the camera, holding a small perch, my father's arm around my shoulders. The date scribbled beneath reads, Miranda's Big Catch, June 1999. Then what's this? I ask, my voice unexpectedly strong. My mother reaches for the album quickly. Oh, those old things. Your father took you a few times, but Arya was the one who truly loved the place. I intercept her hand, gently but firmly, and turn the page. July 2000. Miranda and Dad rebuild the small dock. Another page. August 2001. Miranda's first bass. Another. June 2002. Sunrise fishing. Miranda caught 3 walleye. With each page I turn, the photographer Brianna edges closer, her professional interest piqued by the unplanned drama. That's enough, Mom says, her voice sharp. I'm standing now, though I don't remember rising from my chair. I was there every morning at 5 a.m. with Dad. For 15 years. My fingers flip methodically through the album. Here's me catching a bass, building the dock, learning to swim. I turn to Arya, whose practiced smile has slipped. When's the last time you actually went in the lake instead of just posing beside it? Arya's eyes narrow. You don't understand brand building, Miranda. Some of us create value beyond just fixing things. I become aware that I'm the only one standing. Everyone else remains seated, looking up at me with expressions ranging from embarrassment to annoyance. The realization straightens my spine, shifts something in my posture. For once, I'm not shrinking to fit their narrative. Miranda, Dad's voice carries that tone from my childhood, the one that indicates I've overstepped. That's enough. This decision is final. I draw a deep breath. I'm not contesting the transfer. I'm contesting the erasure of my childhood. Why are you making this so difficult? Mom's eyes fill with practiced tears. We're just trying to be fair. Fair would have been discussing this with me first, I say, looking directly at her. Fair would be acknowledging that I spent every summer morning on that lake while Arya slept until noon. What are you really doing here? Some of us actually make the family proud, Arya says, her voice dropping to a dangerous pitch. Some of us are visible. The words land like a slap. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out to see a text from Jack. I'm outside if you need backup. No? The weight in my chest lightens fractionally. In the silence that follows, I close the photo album with deliberate care. I'm leaving now, I announce, gathering my purse and the album. I'll be spending the weekend at the lake. Mom's panic flares instantly. But Arya has plans to film there this weekend. She has the sponsorship team coming on Saturday. I meet my sister's gaze steadily. I'm not going to your lake house. I'm going fishing with Jack on his family's property across the lake. The stunned silence that follows me to the door feels like the first honest reaction I've received from my family in years. Outside, Jack's battered pickup waits at the curb, his familiar silhouette behind the wheel. As I climb in, he raises an eyebrow. That bad, huh? Worse, I say, the photo album clutched against my chest. They've rewritten history. According to them, Arya's the one who loved the lake house all these years. Jack snorts. The girl who complained about mosquitoes ruining her outfits? Who called fish disgusting water monsters? That Arya? That? For the first time in days, laughter bubbles up from somewhere deep inside me. Apparently, she's now an avid outdoorswoman with a lifelong connection to the property. Well, Jack says, turning the key in the ignition, some history can't be rewritten, especially when there are witnesses. As we pull away, I glance back at my parents' house. Mom and Dad stand in the doorway watching us leave, their faces unreadable from this distance. Behind them, I catch a glimpse of Arya, phone raised, no doubt documenting my dramatic exit for her followers. The album on my lap holds the truth they tried to erase, but as we drive toward the lake toward a weekend of genuine memories rather than manufactured ones, I realize the most important truth isn't captured in those photos. It lives in muscle memory, hands that know how to bait a hook, eyes that can read water patterns, and a heart that recognizes what's real and what's performance. Some legacies can't be transferred with a deed. On Saturday morning, the lake stretches before us, a sheet of gold-tinged glass as the sun creeps over the eastern tree line. Jack navigates his small fishing boat with practiced ease, the gentle purr of the motor, the only sound breaking the morning stillness. I breathe deeply, filling my lungs with air that smells of pine and water in childhood. Ready? Jack asks, cutting the engine as we reach the center of the lake. My hands remember before my mind does the weight of the rod, the proper angle for casting, the gentle snap of wrist that sends the line arcing through dawnlight. The lure lands with a satisfying plunk, sending ripples across the mirror-smooth surface. Nice cast, Jack says, casting his own line in the opposite direction. We settle into a comfortable silence, broken only by the occasional adjustment of our lines or the whisper of the breeze. Across the water, I spot our family dock, my family's dock stretching empty into the water. No camera crew, no perfectly posed figure capturing the sunrise for followers, no Arya. Guess those weekend filming plans didn't actually exist, I murmur, more to myself than to Jack. He follows my gaze and shrugs. Would have been here at dawn for the light if she meant it. My phone vibrates in my pocket again. It's been buzzing steadily since last night, messages piling up from my mother, father, and Arya. I silence it without looking. Whatever crisis they've manufactured can wait. 2 hours later, we return to Jack's family dock with a respectable catch-3 bass and a perch. Jack's father waits on the weathered wooden planks, arms crossed over his flannel shirt, his face breaking into a wide grin as we approach. Caught anything good? He calls as Jack ties up the boat. Haven't seen you fishing here in years, Miranda. Just like riding a bike, I reply, holding up our catch. Well, come on up. Your timing's perfect, coffee's fresh, and Betty's got breakfast going. Inside the cabin, the rich aroma of coffee and bacon wraps around me like an old quilt. Jack's mother Betty hurries over, wiping her hands on her apron before pulling me into a hug that feels genuinely warm. Look at you, she exclaims, holding me at arm's length. Still Miranda Evans, lake girl at heart. You staying for our barbecue later? The neighbors are coming over. I'd love to, I say, surprised by how much I mean it. After breakfast, Betty disappears into a back room, returning with a faded photo album. Found this when we were cleaning last fall, she says, setting it on the kitchen table. Remember when you kids built that raft together? Nearly gave me a heart attack when you paddled it across the lake. The photos show a 12-year-old me and Jack, standing proudly on a roughly assembled wooden platform, life jackets strapped tightly over our sunburned shoulders. We used your dad's power tools without permission, Jack reminds me, laughing. Worth the grounding, I reply, tracing the edge of the photo with my fingertip. As morning shifts to afternoon, neighbors arrive bearing covered dishes and fishing stories. Every other person seems to remember me, asking about my environmental work, reminiscing about summers past. For the first time in years, I feel visible not as an afterthought or a convenient resource, but as a person with history and substance. The sound of another boat motor cuts through the cheerful conversation. Heads turn toward the lake, where a sleek rental approaches the dock. I recognize it immediately. "Miranda," Arya calls as the boat draws closer. Her voice carries the practiced concern of someone aware they're being filmed. Behind her, a man with a professional camera adjusts his focus. "I've been looking everywhere for you. Mom and Dad are worried sick." Jack's father moves to stand beside me, followed by his neighbor Bill and several others, forming a loose semicircle at the edge of the dock. "I told them exactly where I was going," I reply, loud enough to be heard across the water but calm enough to contrast with Arya's dramatic tone. "I'm spending the weekend with people who actually remember my childhood." Arya's camera-ready smile falters. She glances at the gathering crowd, clearly calculating her next move. "Perhaps another time." Jack's father calls, his tone friendly but firm. "We're in the middle of a gathering here." With nowhere to dock and no invitation forthcoming, Arya has no choice but to retreat, her boat turning in a wide arc back toward the family property. Later, checking my phone, I find a direct message from my father rare enough to be notable. "Your mother is upset. Please come back and we can discuss this like adults." Below it, a notification. Both parents now follow Jack on social media. Checking his profile, I see his latest post, a genuine, unposed photo of us with our morning catch. "Great morning fishing with my oldest friend Miranda, just like we did every summer growing up at the lake." The comments flow beneath it, neighbors and lake regulars confirming our shared history. "Remember when Miranda caught that record bass? Still the lake record, isn't it?" Those two were inseparable every summer. I slip my phone back into my pocket and accept a beer from Jack's father, deciding in that moment to stay the entire weekend. Tonight, they're planning a bonfire. Tomorrow, more fishing. None of it will be photographed for followers or filtered for maximum engagement. None of it needs to be. As the sun begins its descent, casting long golden fingers across the water, I realize something profound. They may own the lake house now, but they can never own the lake itself, or the memories it holds. On Tuesday next week, the text message arrives while I'm reviewing water quality reports at my desk. My mother's name flashes on the screen, and I feel the familiar tightening in my chest. "We're having a small ceremony to celebrate Arya's lake house ownership this Saturday. The whole family will be there. Please come. We saved you a special role." I set my phone down and stare out the window at the Minneapolis skyline. Special role. The words hang in the air like storm clouds. 20 minutes later, my phone rings. Mom's voice comes through with forced cheerfulness. "Did you get my message about Saturday?" "I did," I answer, keeping my tone neutral. "What's this special role you mentioned?" A pause. "Well, we thought it would be symbolic if you officially handed over the keys to Arya. Just a small gesture for the family." Keys I never possessed for a house I helped maintain for 15 years. My fingers grip the phone tighter. "And who exactly is coming to this ceremony?" "Just family," she says quickly. Too quickly. "Your Uncle Robert and Aunt Martha are flying in from Arizona. Cousin Sarah and her husband. A few others." I open my laptop and navigate to Arya's Instagram page. Her latest post jumps out immediately. "Family Legacy Celebration. Watch live. This Saturday I'll be accepting ownership of our cherished family lake house in a special ceremony. Join me for this meaningful family moment." Family Legacy. Live stream. Lake house life. The comments section overflows with congratulations and promises to watch. 3,000 likes already. My phone buzzes with another call before I can respond to Mom. Aunt Martha's name appears on the screen. I answer, bracing myself. "Miranda, honey," she says without preamble. "What's this I hear about you being difficult about Arya's special moment?" The accusation lands like a slap. I haven't even responded to my mother's invitation yet. "I just got the invitation 20 minutes ago, Aunt Martha." "Well, your mother says you've been very upset about the whole thing. We're all flying in to support Arya, and it would look terrible if you weren't there to hand over the keys." I close my eyes. The family narrative machine is already in full swing. Later that evening, Jack sits across from me at my kitchen table, his fingers wrapped around a mug of coffee. "So what are you going to do?" he asks after I explain the situation. I stare down at the scattered photographs I've pulled from storage. My 5-year-old self proudly holding up a fish nearly as big as my arm. Dad and me knee-deep in water, measuring boards for the dock repair. Morning fog rising off the water as I swim toward the floating platform. "Is it the house you want back, or what it represents?" Jack asks quietly. The question cuts through my tangled thoughts. I don't need the house, I realize aloud. I need them to acknowledge that my history there was real. I gather the photos carefully and slide them into a large envelope. From my desk, I pull out stationery and a pen. I'm writing them a letter. I tell Jack, "I'll include these photos, not for social media, not for their ceremony, just for them to know what the lake house really meant to me." Jack nods. "And Saturday?" I look up at him, feeling the certainty settle in my bones. I won't be there. Saturday morning dawns clear and bright. Instead of driving to my parents' lake house, I'm at Lake Harriet, with 3 colleagues from my environmental engineering firm. Lisa from the watershed management team adjusts her fishing cap, while Mark and Devin unload the cooler from the truck. "Perfect morning for this," Devin says, handing me a travel mug of coffee. The eastern sky glows pink and orange as we push our small boat from shore. No cameras, no posed shots. Just the quiet dip of oars and the occasional call of a loon. I cast my line into the water with practiced ease, the motion as familiar as breathing. My phone remains in my pocket, silent. I've turned off notifications after sending one final message to my parents an hour ago. I won't be attending today. The lake house is Aria's now, but my memories remain mine. Attached was a single photo of me standing on this new dock at dawn, fishing rod in hand, Lake Harriet stretching out behind me. I've found my own lake now. By noon, my colleagues and I have caught and released 4 bass and a walleye. We eat sandwiches on a quiet beach, telling stories and laughing. Not once do I mention the ceremony happening 20 miles away. It's Lisa who finally asks, "Aren't you curious about what's happening at your family's thing?" I consider this as I rinse our lunch containers in the lake water. Not really. But my phone buzzes then, a text from Jack. "Thought you'd want to know. It's awkward here. Your parents keep checking their phones." Aria looks distracted while trying to film. "There's literally an empty chair with your name on it." Another text follows. "Your Aunt Martha just loudly asked why you weren't here." Then she said, "But didn't Miranda use this place more than Aria ever did? Should have seen your mother's face." I slip my phone back into my pocket without responding, surprised to find I feel no satisfaction, no vindication, just a quiet certainty that I've made the right choice. Devin calls from the boat. "Ready for another round of fishing?" I wade back into the water, feeling the gentle pressure against my legs, the sun warm on my shoulders. For the first time in weeks, my chest expands fully as I breathe. "Absolutely," I say, surprised by the lightness in my voice. "I'm just getting started." A year later, the real estate agent places the keys in my palm with a ceremonial flourish. "Congratulations on your own piece of lakefront, Miranda." I close my fingers around the cool metal, feeling the weight of what these keys represent, not just a property but a declaration of independence. The agent gathers her paperwork, leaving me alone at my new cabin, a modest A-frame nestled on Cedar Lake. It lacks the prestigious address of my parents' property but offers something more valuable: peace. I step onto my dock for the first time as its owner. The weathered boards creak under my shoes as I walk to the edge and sit, removing my shoes to dangle my feet in the spring-chilled water. The ripples spread outward, distorting my reflection. A genuine smile forms on my face without effort or performance. "You look right at home," Jack calls from the shoreline, carrying a box labeled kitchen from his truck. Behind him, 4 friends from my environmental firm unload furniture and supplies. "Need any help?" I ask, not moving from my spot. "Stay right there," Jack laughs. "I've seen that look before. The lake's welcoming you." Over the next month, we transform the cabin. Weekends blur into painting parties and furniture assembly. The renovation becomes less about fixing a property and more about creating rituals: coffee at sunrise on the deck, monthly fishing weekends, impromptu barbecues where nobody poses for photos before eating. On a Saturday morning in July, I cast my line from my dock and feel the familiar tug of a fish. I reel in a decent-sized bass, its scales catching sunlight as it thrashes against the air. "First catch from the new place," Jack calls, grabbing my phone. "Let me get a picture." I hold the fish with practiced hands, grinning not for social media but for myself, a moment documented solely for my own memories. After releasing the base back into the lake, I tuck the phone away without posting anything. Some experiences deserve to exist without an audience. My phone buzzes occasionally with text messages from my mother, increasingly gentle in tone. The garden club asked about you yesterday. And, your old room is always open. Each one carefully avoids mentioning Arya or the lake house. Jack scrolls through his phone one evening as we sit on my deck. Your sister hasn't posted from the lake house in weeks, he says. According to your mom's friend Diane, Arya's barely been there since the initial photo series faded from her feed. I sip my coffee unsurprised. The lake was never about the lake for her. My father's email arrives on a Tuesday morning. The dock needs some repair work. Thought you might like to go fishing sometime when it's done. His awkward olive branch hangs between us. Neither accepted nor rejected as I craft measured, kind but firm responses that maintain the boundaries I've worked so hard to establish. A week later, dawn breaks over my lake. Morning mist hovers above the water, as a small gathering of friends prepares for a weekend celebration. Jack's truck rumbles up the gravel driveway as I pour coffee on the deck. He carries a worn wooden box toward me, its brass corners tarnished with age. Dad wanted you to have this, he says, setting his father's old fishing tackle box beside me. Said it should go to someone who actually uses it. My fingers trace the worn edges, feeling the history embedded in the wood. Tears prick unexpectedly at my eyes, not for what I've lost, but for what I've found. Family, I've learned, can be chosen, not just born into. The following month, I welcome 12 local children to my dock for the first session of my weekend environmental program. Their eager faces focus intently as I explain lake ecosystems and sustainable fishing practices. Their excited voices when they identify different fish species echo across the water, building something authentic that honors my true connection to these lakes. A small local paper runs a story about the program. I don't check to see if my parents or Arya notice it. Now, as summer deepens, I sit alone at sunrise on my dock, fishing rod in hand. The lake reflects golden light, mirroring the calm I found within myself. Nearby, a fish breaks the surface, creating ripples that extend outward. I make no move to cast in its direction, content simply to witness its presence rather than capture it. Some moments aren't meant to be possessed, just experienced.